Good evening, everyone. Welcome to tonight's market debrief. First, we'll be looking at is the S&P 500 index. And last week, I've mentioned that the U.S. index, right, is facing a probable correction. Okay, this because of its weak uptrend. So what we have for the last week, right, it has it did quite a correction, probably like 2% down. Okay, and it quickly recovered the past 2 days, testing back its all-time high. And this is mainly being led by the NASDAQ. All right, the NASDAQ 100 index, right, mostly being powered by the tech companies. Okay, and it's making new highs over the past few days. Okay, so there are only a few stocks that are driving this new high, and they are mainly the big cap stocks. Your Apple, Microsoft, Shopify, Adobe, Nvidia, etc. And also, so these are the stocks that are pushing the Nasdaq higher and keeping the S&P 500 on the high side. Okay, whereas the Dow Jones Industrial Average, right, it only measures 30 biggest companies in the US. So the Dow Jones Industrial Average basically had a steeper pullback, going down 5% from its recent high. Now the reason for this the tech companies is there are recent news, a lot of news talking about the shortages of chips, manufacturing chips for TVs, laptops, and even for electric vehicles. Okay, so probably those are starting to drive, a lot of softwares, and so we are also seeing like mainly the Nvidia. Okay, what I've seen that a lot of the car makers, they are using Nvidia's chip, and we are seeing huge shortages. That's what is being reported in the newspaper. Okay, so this is Nvidia. It's been making all-time high, since like probably a month ago. Okay, since about this news first surfaced a month ago. Okay, right over here. Okay, so yeah, global chip shortages, in real world consequences starting from 7 May, where this was first published. Okay, so yeah, so that's probably what is driving the tech companies at the moment. Okay, so for Hang Seng, which is there are also quite a bit of tech companies is being positive. Okay, and Hang Seng still continue to trade sideways, as I've mentioned the past few weeks. It's still going to be trading sideways within this range, 28,000 and 30,000. Okay, so China is also having a similar movement. All right, so there's nothing to show about that. But Hong Kong seems to be like waking up. Some of later I will show some of the companies, that might be turning up and might push Hang Seng Index higher, since those companies are also on the so-called Hang Seng Tech Index and some of the index. Now for the Straits Times Index, I mentioned that it is a little bit weak. It's more probably going to be inching downwards or trading sideways. Okay, so there's not much to talk about. It's still in a consolidation phase for our Singapore local market. Commodity space, what we have for the crude oil is continuously making new highs, over the past 1 week. Oil companies, all this should be we should be taking note. Some of them are resting, and most likely it will take some time, for analysts to come around, and give it a higher rating. Okay, so do watch out for your oil related companies. And main thing, last week I mentioned about the crash in the commodity space. Your gold, platinum, palladium, silver, even lumber, copper, and all these commodities. Okay, so what that has done, right? Like 2 weeks ago, in the debrief, I've mentioned that the dollar index showing some signs that it is going to turn around. Okay, and what it did over the past 2 weeks is rallied strongly and currently now trading above the 200-day moving average. Okay, so if the current traction that the Federal Reserve is going to taper, which I don't know how true that it is, no, because as of last week, June 15, it had an accelerated move in terms of asset buying by the Federal Reserve. Okay, so and but in the news front, they just announced last week that they are going to taper. So we have to see with evidence know that they are going to taper by reducing their bond purchases and probably offloading. Okay, and if that's the case, right, then the dollar index, the US dollar strength might increase, you know, with regards or with relations to their six major trading partners. So what this shows is that if you were to invest in the US stock market using US dollar, you might be starting to make some gains, no, if you were to go back up higher. Okay, if we look at our USD SGD, okay, it is following quite a similar pattern to the dollar index. Okay, so if it goes back up to like 140, I think you will make quite a gain, you know, from your US dollar holdings. As I've mentioned just now, the shortages of chip, there is a certain resilience in the chip manufacturing, or so-called electronic component manufacturing. Okay, this is your UMS. Okay, today it had a spike up, you know, also mainly because this so-called chip foundry announces a many new manufacturing plant in Singapore, but this will only come into place in the 2023. All right, another 2 years for them to build the factory. So that is UMS. So with that, right, most likely it might start to trend up after it break above this $1.50 resistance area. Okay, which has been tested twice already in the past 2 months. Another that was related to chip manufacturing is AEM. They are so-called subcon from Intel. Okay, and also because of today's news, it has this spike up. Okay, so which means to say we should be expecting increased revenue instead of falling revenue already. As I've mentioned, way over here we are expecting like falling revenue, but I mean due to this type of news, right, and this kind of pattern being made, this is like a bottom cup and handle kind of pattern. We should be expecting further upside from here. Okay, so it might from here it might test back to 440 and 460 area. Okay, over the next few months. Okay, another tech company is your Franken. Okay, today had a spike up also in relation to today's news. Now on the Hong Kong side, okay, AAC Tech had been on the run since the news that came out about this chip shortages last month. So it's been on the run for the past 1 month. Okay, so what we want to see, if you are in the Hong Kong market, you are trading Hong Kong market, what you want is to see is to have a nice pullback, you know, back to like the 54 area, you know, and then look for opportunity to buy on this turn of uptrend. Another company, electronic components company, is your Sunny Optical. Okay, it also rallied around the same time as the AAC Tech. Okay, and it's on a strong uptrend, moving up. Okay, some of the big tech companies in Hong Kong, China, are showing signs of turning up. Okay, this is Meituan, listed in Hong Kong, 3690. Okay, I've mentioned like last I think 2 or 3 weeks ago, okay, that this one seems to be turning up. Okay, so today there is a rally. Okay, hopefully over the next few days there is a follow through on this, you know, to let it continue its upward movement. Okay, in a similar space like Meituan is your JD.com. Okay, and there seems to be increased volume coming in, you know, the past few days, the past few weeks, you know, holding the price up. So-called news that the so-called art investor, Cathy Wood, is like accumulating more shares in this JD.com, mainly in the US. Okay, so in the Hong Kong side, this might follow together, and it seems like it's bottoming out, you know, and trying to turn around. So most probably all three might move hand in hand together. So the third one is your, of course, is your Alibaba. So in the US is Baba, the code name, and in Hong Kong is 9988. Okay, so Alibaba right now I've drawn this downtrend line, okay, and it's getting very sticky towards the trend line, which means it might try to break through or break above this trend line. So if it does, very likely it might start to turn back up again for Baba. Mainly because I think the so-called Jack Ma and the Chinese government saga likely to be over. Okay, so this price drop has kind of like priced in. Okay, now in our local space, there are some movements in the REITs. Okay, for those that had are planning to invest in the long term, more for their dividends. Okay, this gives about 4+% coming to 5%. Ascendus REIT. Okay, um, in the past few videos over the 1 month, I've been talking about Ascendus REIT in the 291 area, and last week you have another opportunity to buy in 291, 292, 293. Okay, so today it started to rally back up again. Okay, so I believe this has kind of formed a new higher base, in this overall pattern. Okay, above this 290 area. Okay, so you can watch out for this to accumulate more. And the past few weeks I've been talking about Maple Logistic. Okay, so Maple Logistic has been trading sideways and has been trending up slowly, inching upwards. Okay, so you can watch this. So besides watching, you probably can look to invest in this. Okay, this give about 3.8% yield, slightly lower. You want a higher kind of yield, you can go for its counterpart, Maple Industrial. Okay, which quite interesting. They already did their acquisition for the data centers. Okay, so this has formed a nice base. Seems like looking to break out above. Okay, so you do watch out for this Maple Industrial. So I guess in these times of uncertainty, a lot of people or many investors would like to go for the tried and tested, the big names, your CapitaLand and your Maple kind of REITs. you know I think they believe that these REITs most likely will not die, and they will probably maintain their business or even grow from this pandemic. Okay, so this is Maple Commercial. Okay, and it's been trading sideways for a while and is starting to inch up also. Okay, so even though in the bigger picture, broader perspective, is still in a sideways movement, but is on a slight upward trajectory. All right, so these three Maple tree are, can consider. This Maple tree gives about 4.4% yield. Okay, in the Hong Kong side, I've mentioned about these two REITs before. This is Fortune REIT. Okay, it has been resting sideways, so do note that this is on the uptrend. Okay, so it might rest for a little bit more and then might continue on its uptrend, like in the case in back in April when it did this consolidation, like 3 weeks before it started to trend up. Okay, link rate roughly about 3+%. Okay, it's also turning upwards. Okay, after this break of a base formation, it has started to break up and it's making new highs every week. Okay, so you can watch out for this. This used to be trading like $90 over dollars or over almost $100. So there is like a 20 to 30% upside in the near term future over a year. Sets something that I've mentioned for the past 2 weeks really. The first time over here, second time where it pulled back down. I'm mentioning that our cases number, if it's declining, you should watch out for this. Good enough. There's this thing, stay home notice being cut to 14 days from the 21 days. So the 21 days seems to be like a deterrent, okay, for travelers to come to Singapore, or relocate, or for employers to hire maids, from Indonesia or from the neighboring countries. Okay, so with this reduction, right, I believe Singapore might be looking to opening their borders again, over the next few weeks. Okay, and that will bode well for SATS, which does baggage handling and food catering for the airline industries. Okay, so you can watch out for this. Most likely it might turn back up, over the next 1 to 2 weeks. Now, for more on the longer term investing, or so-called trading also, on a longer term basis, this is a Sinostar pack. Okay, it did a rally. The last time I talked about this is somewhere here. The first time I talked is 2nd of June video. So it did a rally up to 47, 48 cents, and then right now it came back down. Okay, so overall it has done a higher high, which I would say is a positive note. So from here, right, it most likely going to rest for a few more weeks before it start to trend back up again. Okay, so do note that this so-called volume, right, is thinning, in terms of bid and ask spread, and the amount of volume queuing, at the bid and ask prices. Okay, so I would say that is good thing, if they will want to push it, you can really push it very fast and very easily. Okay, so you can do watch out for this Sinostar pack. And this is Oceanus. Okay, Oceanus have been trading very quietly. Okay, uh, do note that I think they are going to report their results before 15th of August or something. All right, so if that happens, most likely I don't know, insiders or people who know what they are doing, right, they might buy beforehand, before the earnings comes out. Okay, so this is one to note at. And then they also talk about their so-called Singapore factory. It seems to be like going to be operational in the third quarter of this year, and probably fully operational by the end of the year. Okay, so we might be looking at earnings increase, this year or next year compared to the previous year. Okay, so this is Oceanus. I've mentioned this is more on the long term, like a turnaround company. Now, the last sector I would like to show is the insurance sector in Hong Kong. Okay, so this is AIA. Recently, have been trading sideways for a long time, but over the past 1 month, it has been trending down and retest this 200-day moving average, and it had a rebound, nice strong rebound today. Okay, so not just the AIA, there are some stocks that does that. Your so-called China Life. Okay, it's so-called similar pattern, trending down for 1 month and then had a rebound above the resistance. There's a rally today. Okay, so for China Life, the main thing is it has to trade above this $16 or 16.50 before you really want to consider trading this turnaround. Okay, the other two which I'm more interested is Ping An. Okay, on this day where it broke down, where I drew this line, that I'm expecting Ping An to reach roughly around the $75 area. Okay, so recently it reached a low here of 75.60. Okay, and it also had a rally or a so-called interest in buying today. Okay, similarly with AIA and China Life. Okay, so um, you might have found bottom here. Okay, so we like to see over the next few days, next few weeks, how it turns out. Okay, so if you have a strong rally back up, right, the next pullback, you should be watching out for this. Okay, this is Ping An. And the last one is Zhong An Online, ZA Online. Okay, so after this drop, it's been trading sideways pretty quietly. Okay, so I believe there's a so-called short-term accumulation happening. Okay, and I also saw Cathy Wood also buying this stock, all right, for her ETF, actively managed ETF. Okay, so The financial for this is strong. No, it's been growing tremendously over the past few quarters. Okay, so that's why there is this strong movement upwards, in anticipation of its earnings. Okay, so um, you should be watching out for this, because once it has a spike move, it tends to be very big movement. Okay, so it tends to come after a period of quiet movement. Okay, which may last like 2 to 3 months. Okay, back in 2020, it rested for like 3 months, and last year it rested for like 6 months, before it had this big move. Okay, so this one is already like rested for like almost a month. Okay, so yeah, you could probably buy, accumulate, and then wait for that big move before you sell for your profit.